The Diary of Samuel Pepys, 25th of June 1660. With my lord at Whitehall all the morning. I spoke with Mr. Coventry about my business, who promised me all the assistance I could expect. Dined with young Mr. Powell, lately come from the Sound, being amused at our great changes here, and Mr. Southern, now clerk to Mr. Coventry, at the Legging in King Street. Thence to the Admiralty, where I met with Mr. Turner of the Navy Office, who did look after the place of Clerk of the Acts. He was very civil to me, and I to him, and shall be so. There came a letter from my Lady Monk to my lord about it this evening, but he refused to come to her, but meeting in Whitehall with Sir Thomas Clarges, her brother, my lord returned answer that he could not desist in my business, and that he believed that General Monk would take it ill if my lord should name the officers in his army, and therefore he desired to have the naming of one officer in the fleet. With my lord by coach to Mr. Crews, and very merry by the way, discoursing of the late changes and his good fortune. Thence home, and then with my wife to Dorset House, to deliver a list of the names of the justices of the peace for Huntingdonshire. By coach, taking Mr. Fox part of the way with me, that was with us with the king on board the Naseby, who I found to have married Mrs. Whittle, that lived at Mr. Greer's so long, a very civil gentleman. At Dorset House I met with Mr. Kipps, my old friend, with whom the world is well changed, he being now seal-bearer to the Lord Chancellor, at which my wife and I are well pleased, he being a very good-natured man. Home and late writing letters, then to my lord's lodgings, this being the first night of his coming to Whitehall to lie since his coming from sea. The 26th of June 1660. My lord dined at his lodgings all alone today. I went to Secretary Nicholas to carry him my lord's resolutions about his title, which he had chosen, and that is Portsmouth. I met with Mr. Throgmorton, a merchant, who went with me to the old 3 Tons at Charing Cross, who did give me 5 pieces of gold for to do him a small piece of service about a convoy to Bilbo, which I did. In the afternoon, one Mr. Watts came to me, a merchant, to offer me £500 if I would desist from the Clerk of the Acts place. I pray God direct me in what I do herein. Went to my house, where I found my father, and carried him and my wife to Whitefriars, and myself to Puddle-Wharf to the wardrobe to Mr. Townsend, who went with me to Backwell, the goldsmiths, and there we chose £100 worth of plate for my lord to give Secretary Nicholas. Back and stayed at my father's, and so home to bed. A slight note for that entry. Montague changed his mind and ultimately took his title from the town of Sandwich, leaving that of Portsmouth for the use of the king, of a king's mistress.